First of all, hello everyone. Amnon gave you already the briefing, so I'm not going to do it again. I will just repeat the important part from my side is please, we know that it might be a little bit complicated. So if you have any questions, we try to simplify it as much as we could. But if you still have any questions, please feel free to open your mic to stop us and ask all the questions. Because it's very important that you will understand this system. This system is part of our future. And not understanding it now, meaning that you will have difficulties in the future. So please, let's finish this seminar that you have all of your, everything is clear. And of course, later on, if you have any questions coming up, rising up, please feel free to ask. So this webinar is going to concentrate on the Ossia CMS Enterprise version only. Everything we are saying here is for the Enterprise version, which is the high level of the CMS. We're not talking about the Ossia CMS standard version at any point, and nothing here is relevant for the standard version. Okay, just to make clear, this is the equipment we are going to touch: the management server, the client, storage server, decoder, transfer server, and keyboard and joystick. I'm not going to touch it now. Everything has been clarified during the presentations. So first of all, why we did this hardware? Why unlike the standard CMS or unlike former CMS that we had, why we decided to make this enterprise version embedded on our hardware? First of all, it's compatibility. We know it from our technical support, and you for sure know it. A lot of the times we have compatibility issues, and having our hardware together with the software embedded on it make compatibility very easy, meaning everything will work together. Also for the reliability, of course, that when we plan the hardware is planned to run the software on it. So we're not going to have any reliability issues, meaning the hardware is high-end, the software is planned to work on it seamlessly. So we don't have any other problem than that. Quick setup. I don't know who of you already installed the Ossia CMS Enterprise on a PC or on a server, but the installation process is quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a long process for all the configuration. It's a several step installation, port configuration, network configuration, everything. So in this case, when you get the embedded devices, everything is already installed. All you need to do, plug it into the power, connect it to the network and to a monitor, turn it on, and you are ready to work. Improved operator effectiveness. Usually, or in a standard installation, you take a PC and the Ossia CMS is actually one software on that PC. But on that PC, you can also install games. You have the internet browser. So you don't really know what your operator is doing when he's supposed to watch the video. He can minimize the Ossia CMS and play solitaire or open YouTube and do whatever other things that he wants to do. In our hardware, everything that is installed is the Ossia CMS. You cannot minimize it. You cannot close it. That's the system. You turn it on, you get the Ossia CMS. You switch it off, you turn off the device. Simple as that. Pricing and licenses. Then using Provision-ISR hardware will save you money on the licenses. Amnon will probably touch it later. And I think one of the most important parts is the one-stop tech support. I'm not talking about Provision-ISR only, but of course, you know, when there is a mixture of software and hardware, there is also the uncertainty where the problem is coming from. You can call the software provider and he will say, I don't know, maybe it's the hardware. You can call the hardware provider and he say, I don't know, maybe it's the software. In this case, you just call Provision-ISR. Both the hardware and the software coming from us. You will never have this ping pong between the hardware and software manufacturers because we are the manufacturer. Okay, so once we are finished with this short explanation why we have the Ossia CMS hardware, let's understand a little bit on the architecture or how the system is built. Okay, So first of all, of course,
Please
we
pay
have,
attention now. This is the most important part on this today's presentation.
okay, so first of all, of course, the base of all installation are the IP cameras, okay? We cannot have any videos without the IP cameras. Let's see them going into place. The next one is the recording device, okay? Please note that the recording device is not mandatory. It's completely optional when you're using the Ossia CMS. We have the recording server, which we will touch in a second. So you will see that only 3 cameras here are connected to the recording device. We have 2 cameras that will be connected directly to the management server. Now we have the management servers. The management server is responsible for 4 main tasks. The device database, all the devices and their username and so on. The users database, meaning the users that connect to the CMS, which user, Amnon, Tal, Dudi, and so on. User permission and authentication. Of course, each user has its own permission and authentication, what he's allowed or not allowed to do. So once he logs into the CMS will only show him the devices and allow him to do what he's supposed to do. And the device database synchronization, meaning for face recognition in the short future, it will also be the LPR database. So when you add someone to the database, that person will be synchronized to all the recording devices connected to the Ossia CMS. The management server is responsible for it. And why we have 2 pictures here is because there are actually 3 management server models, each one of them with different capabilities. I'm not touching the capabilities now, okay? I'm just showing you the architecture, okay? So this is the management server. Everything is connected to it. The management server, of course, is the heart of the system, okay? Without it, the system will not operate. Then we have the clients. I will touch it in the future, but in the in the continue of the presentation. But in general, the client can be Provision-ISR embedded device, which is the one on the left. It is that small, yes. This is a real size comparison between a PC and our device. Or it can be, like I said, the embedded client on our hardware, the one on the left. It connects to the server, and it has 5 purposes. First of all is configuring the management server. Second is to configure the connected device, the IPC, the NVRs, the DVRs. Of course, viewing the video, live playback, alarm pop-ups, and so on. And all the special modules that we have is the LPR, the electronic map, the people counting interface, and so on. And also building, managing LPR and face database. Like we said, for the synchronization, we are building the database from the CMS, and the CMS will synchronize it to all the devices. Okay?
Tal,
Yes.
small question just to make it simple. Who is the client?
Okay, the client is actually the end users, okay? The client is the operator that operates the CMS, is the chief of security, is the building manager, office manager, whatever. Those are the users of the CMS. We didn't mention, but a client can also be a mobile app. So anyone basically in the world, the CEO, if he wants to see what's happening in the office, he can use his mobile app. It's also some kind of a client, use his mobile app to connect and see the what's happening in the building or in the office. Okay, usually the client will be connected with the monitor. Okay, so we have the monitor connected here. This is of course a separate part of the system. Next, we have the video decoder. Okay, the video decoder is actually a very a special part of special hardware. Unlike other hardwares, which I will touch, unlike other hardwares, this hardware can only be found in or bought by from Provision-ISR. You cannot get an external hardware and install some kind of software or service on it to be a decoder. If you need a decoder, you must get it from us. The decoder, like its name, its sole purpose in life is to decode videos. Okay, you can connect 4 monitors to it. Usually we will use decoders in control rooms where you need a lot of monitors, or you need a lot of videos to be played. And why we need a decoder? First of all, you know, you can get a PC and use a very expensive video card or GPU with a lot of monitor outputs. It is a possibility. So still, why to use a decoder? 2 reasons. First of all, like I said before, expensive video cards. Here you have 4 video outputs, and it's much cheaper than any professional video card like NVIDIA or something like that, that to install inside the PC. And maybe a more important task is that it actually saves a lot of resources from the CPU. If you take the CMS, one of the hardest works of the CMS, or the hardest task, meaning resources, CPU and RAM, is video decoding. Once you take this task and you assign it to external hardware, meaning the decoder, you save a lot of resources to the computer or to the client, and you let the client handle the unexpected tasks, like video pop-ups, like events, electronic map, and so on and so on. Okay, so the decoder can show live video, playback, and alarm pop-ups. Like I said, we will use it when we need many monitors, or we have a lot of channels to view, and the PC hardware is not enough, or the client hardware is not enough.
Sorry, Tal, how many monitors can you connect to the decoder?
Up to 4.
And if you need more?
You can connect more decoders.
Okay.
You can connect more than 1 decoder.
Thank you.
Okay, so each decoder, like showed here, can connect up to 4 monitors. Each monitor up to 36 cameras, meaning that we can have up to 144 channels. Okay, the next part is the storage server. The storage server, like the name implies, is to store video. Okay, we will use the storage server when we need the Ossia CMS to do the recording, meaning that we don't have NVRs, we don't have DVRs, we just want the video to be recorded on the recording server, or we want a separated backup to all of our recording, meaning we do have an NVR, we do have a DVR, but we want the recording also to take place on the recording server, so we will have a backup. Okay, so the recording server will go into here. The cameras are connected to it. They are the recording now on the recording server. And of course, like you see, everything is connected to the management server. The next part of the system.
Tal, sorry, one more question. If you want me to keep it to the end, we can keep it to the end. But with the 4 monitors that you put there, the resolution, because once you watch over 8 cameras at a time, the resolution drops. Will it be the same here?
Yeah, it works very similar to an NVR. Later in the presentation, there is a technical spec of the decoder together with the decoding capabilities. What's the resolution for 1 channel, 4 channel, 9 channel, 16 channel, and so on. But like you said, yeah, of course, there is no reason to show 36 channels in mainstream, meaning 4 or 5 megapixel, because anyway, it's very small on the screen. So we go down to substream. The next part is the transfer server. The transfer server, like I will say in the next page, it's a very complicated. It's a very complicated hardware, but it takes a very crucial part of the Ossia CMS. The space that I have now on this page is not enough, so I'm just going to position it in the architecture. Okay, this is how it looks, and now I will explain what it does. Okay, in the next 4 or 5.
Wait. I suggest just before, because I know that the media transfer server is quite, it needs deeper explanation. So first of all, let's take 1 minute here for any questions that you might have. Tal, before we go to the transfer server, make on this picture that we see here, a quick brief, and then talk a little bit about the transfer server if people still have questions or not.
Okay. So like I said, we have the management server. This is the heart of the system.
Tal, please talk louder. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I moved the mic out of my mouth. Okay, so this is the management server. Like I said, this is the heart of the system. You can see that all the lines are actually connected to it, meaning that if something happens to it, the system is practically non-functional. Okay, so everything is being connected and managed from here. When you connect using a PC client, like here, everything is actually being configured on the management server. So the client is just a link to the management server. And also, like I will say in the next page, the transfer server, if we don't add any transfer servers to the system, the management server by default is also a transfer server. Okay, so when we stream video, the video is being streamed through the management server, okay, to the clients. This is also one part of the system of the management server. We have the storage server. Its purpose is to store video, to play records from it, and we have the decoder. When we have a need for a lot of video to be displayed or many monitors, we use the decoders to connect up to 4 monitors and to view up to 144 channels. Okay. Any questions up to here?
Hi, Tal. Good morning.
Hey, Stefano.
Hi. One information. If I have a big installation where the customer want yes, management server, but he want a backup of management server too. What can I do? I need to.
We are working on this solution. There is a way to create a backup, but it's using external tools, not in-house tools. But we are working now on a way to make some kind of a cascade between two management server. So if one drop, the other one will take place instead. At the moment, it doesn't exist, but we are working on it.
We are talking about redundancy.
Redundancy.
Okay. Yes. Another thing, when we have a management server, we always have to add a client server or not? Can I use, for instance, if you have a surveillance room, yes, in which we are going to only to have a management server, do we have to have the client?
Okay.
Do we
I understood.
Directly on management server?
Okay, I understood. Pedro, it's a very good question. Actually, all of the management server, all of them already have a built-in client.
Okay.
Okay. So you don't need any other client, but I must say that the professional management server, this one, the 1U, is actually installed on a very powerful hardware. This very powerful hardware also have a very powerful fan, so it will avoid overheating. It's quite loud. It's quite loud. For me, I tried installing it on our demo room in the rack that we have in the demo room, and it was too powerful to work. So we moved it into our network into our communication room.
Okay.
But the other, the small ones, they have a built-in client. You don't need any other external client. And also, if your communication rack is well sealed, it might block the noise coming from the 1U server, but it is quite loud when it's working.
Okay. Okay.
But it does have a client. Okay, a built-in client. Okay, so like I said before, on a normal installation, before I explain what is a transfer server, on a normal installation, the management server already have a transfer server integrated inside as a service. So generally, when we are talking about default installation or a small installation, we don't need any additional transfer servers. So now we will explain what is a transfer server and when do we need to add additional transfer servers, okay? This is maybe the most important part, and I will tell you the truth. My biggest fear is that because you don't understand what is the transfer server, you will avoid using it. But in some installations, in some projects, you will have no choice but using additional transfer servers. Okay, so we must understand what is the transfer server, when we need it, and what is it good for. So we will know how to offer it to the customers and how to design it into the system. Okay, so it's very important at any stage. If you have any questions, please stop and ask. Okay, so like I said, this is probably the most complicated component, but it also have crucial purposes. It looks exactly the same as the management server, okay? But it runs a different software. Okay, so first of all, is to increase bandwidth capabilities. Each transfer server adds approximately 800 megabit per second to the total bandwidth. What it means? It means that, for example, if we have, for example, one real-time 4 megapixel IPC at H.264 is about 4096 kilobit per second. Okay, but this is, no one has one camera when we are talking about the CMS. So what happens when we have 200 cameras? 200 cameras, 4 megapixel IPC at H.265 is about 819,000 kilobit per second, which is about 800 megabit per second. Okay? What's the meaning of it? The meaning is, if we have more than 200 cameras, we need to increase the bandwidth. Increasing the bandwidth is done with transfer server, okay? So one transfer server, and like I said, each device have one transfer server built in, is about 200 IPC. 200 IPC, I'm talking about 4 megapixel real time, okay? Of course, different cameras, different resolutions, different bandwidth. This is just for the sample. Okay, so if we need up to 400 cameras, we need 2 transfer servers. We need up to 600. We need three transfer servers. Okay, and so on and so on. We can add, if I remember correctly, we can add up to approximately 10 media servers. Okay. The second part of it, the second task of it, is allowing multicast video streaming. What does it mean? It means without transfer server, we have our NVR. Once 3 users connect to the NVR, it means that 3 connections are being taken from the NVR. Some of our NVR support 5 users, some of the NVR support 10 users, some of the NVR support 15 users, but still it's not enough when we're talking about CMS, where we can have 10, 20, 30 users connected to the system. So we must allow multicast. And this is where the video transfer server comes into hand. When we connect with the transfer server to the NVR, it's only one connection. And then the transfer server makes multicast. So all the users that connect to view the video doesn't affect on the NVR. And still only one connection is taken from the NVR. So for example, when using this is very efficient, let's take a kindergarten. I don't know how it is in the world, but many kindergartens in Israel have video systems connected to it. So the parents can connect and see what is going on in the kindergarten. And using just an NVR is not sufficient because, like I said, 5 or 10 users, it's not sufficient when you have 20 children or 30 children with 60 parents. Okay. Any questions up to here? Okay. The next is maybe the terminology is not accurate, but it's something that like WAN, which is the world internet, into LAN transparency. Okay, and what does it mean? Let's say that we have 3 networks. Okay, you have 3 branches somewhere in the world. Each one have its own cameras. You have a management server. Okay, somewhere centralized. Doesn't matter the locations. Okay. If you go into the management server and you want to add devices, you go to the quick add, it will be empty because there is no cameras in the LAN. Everything is in the LAN, is in the WAN, is in the world internet, it's not in your local network. Okay, so in this case, what you need to do, you have 2 options. Okay, in order to add the cameras, either you make port forwarding to all the cameras, or you make auto report to all the cameras. Okay, and then you need to add the cameras one by one to the management server. Okay, it's a lot of work. It's very complicated. It's not very simple when you talk about 100, 200 cameras. It's several hours of work for the installer and the integrator. Okay, so this is where the management servers come into hand. Okay, now of course I'm not talking about 4 cameras. I'm talking about massive numbers of cameras. The solution for it is to add a media transfer server on each site. Okay, and then all you need to do is to add the media transfer server to link them to the management server. Okay, and what happens now is that the transfer server will actually mirror all the devices that they have in their own LAN into the management server. Okay, so it will look like something like this. Once we link it, it will be like a one big virtual LAN. And now when we add the quick add, we can see all the devices that are on the network. So now in one click, I can mark all of them here, click add. Of course, I'm not talking about all the area and everything like that, but theoretically in one click, I can add all the devices that we have in all the 3 networks. Okay, simple as that. And the last task is to stream video from the devices. Okay, so in standard configuration, like I said, the management server is also the transfer server. Okay, so all the video will be streamed through the management server. Okay, from Australia, from Russia, from South America, doesn't matter. The client is watching from somewhere in the USA. You can see all the video is being streamed through the management server, which is also the transfer server, to the client. If we want to avoid this situation, or we want to route the video in different way, what we need to do is customize configuration. We can add transfer servers. So I added transfer server in Russia. I added transfer server in South America. And now you can see the transfer servers are here. And now when I want to view the video will go from the transfer server directly to the client. So now it will look something like this, which is much more efficient when it comes to bandwidth and network management. Okay? The management server is still in the picture, but only for authentication. The line that you see here is only to authentication. What it means authentication? It means that the client says, I want to get video from this NVR. So the management server must confirm that the client is authenticated or allowed to view this video, and only then it will tell the transfer server you're allowed to stream this video to the client. Okay, so this is actually the purposes of a transfer server. Still, the transfer server, because it is supposed to manage a lot of bandwidth when it comes to network traffic, it has some special features related to network features, okay? The first one is load balancing. I'm going to touch it just on a brief. For who of you who doesn't really know network, I hope it will be clear. Okay, but let's say the network now, the media server needs to stream 600 megabit per second of data. So it will come in. And now without load balancing, what will happen? All the data will go out from one port. All the 600 megabit per second will go out from one port. With load balancing, we have 600 megabit per second coming in, but now the transfer server will do a load balancing. The load balancing says that you can divide actually the packets into 4 and just send 150 megabit per second from each one of these ports. And now these ports, you can connect each one of them to a different network so you don't load on the network. And also if you have a failure of one of these network cards, you will not have a total failure of the system, okay? Everything will be divided into 3 and not into 4. Okay, so this is load balancing. The other feature, which is not less important, is network redundancy. What it means that, let's say you have only one card, okay, without redundancy. You have one card, one router, one switch, one network stream, transfer server. What happens if something will happen to the router or to the switch? You actually lost your transfer server. But with redundancy, you can connect another completely separated network. Of course, you can connect up to 4 completely separated networks. I just didn't have enough space here. So now, even if we lost one of the networks, one router, one switch, we still have redundancy. So the server will not fall. It will still be alive and will still work. Okay? So this is redundancy. Okay. All of this that I just explained about the transfer server, any questions up till now?
Show us again the full image of the full architecture.
Okay. Go left, back.
I just want to say here, transfer server. I just want to say here, first of all, hope you understand a little bit better. I can say that I did a little bit better the different architecture of and product line from the accessories. Transfer server is one of the key elements that sometimes it's very hard to understand, but you can see the huge benefit of using transfer servers for 3 main tasks. Video streaming, multicasting, we talked about viewing multiple users from different sites, and of course, saving time on the installation. All in all, transfer server is a big part of the accessories line that you should be aware of. Now take the time to ask us questions about the product line itself, about the architecture of it. We are not going to go into each one of them to explain main features, key features, technical features, but when it comes to the architectures, if you have any questions, please feel free now. By the way, you can also chat on the chat box and ask me, and I will ask on behalf of you.
Okay, while you think on your questions, I just want to mention.
Sorry, we don't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I keep moving. When I want to take a sip of water, I'm moving the microphone. So I just want to make something clear. Even though we are talking about Ossia Vms hardware, embedded hardware, I still just want to clarify that everything that you see here, except of the decoder, can be installed on your own hardware. Meaning, if you have a server in-house, you can install management server, you can install storage server, you can install the transfer server on it. It's not a must that you will get the hardware from us, but there are the reasons that lead you. I think if it was up to me, I would get the embedded hardware to get hardware from us, but it's not a must. Okay, this is something that needs to be clarified.
So, Anush, may I ask a question?
Of course.
So that was the doubt I've had. In the beginning, I thought we've had to buy all the equipments with all the softwares installed. Okay, but for what I understand now, we can buy the management server to put in our system, the client server to put in another PC, the transfer server to put in another PC, for instance, if our client already has it, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The transfer server requires licenses.
Yes.
Okay? The other equipment does not require
Okay, understand that. Because we have a huge situation that we are studying now, and we are trying to see if we can manage to put these equipments in there. But we are talking about a very big communication company, so they have their own servers.
Yes.
They prefer to put it in the servers they have.
No problem. Just
So
one
this
thing.
can be.
Yeah, as long as it's a Windows server.
Okay, yeah, it's a Windows server.
Okay,
No,
just
a normal one, a regular one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anush.
We will talk now that we explain you the architecture. We will go through the product line really quickly because we are also short on time. But we will go the main features, and we will try to touch some of the key elements and features and good reasons on why using the dedicated hardware. I will also mention some prices, and you will see it. So let's move quickly, go through the different hardware, touch only the key features. And when I feel that there is a need to say something relate also to price, I will jump in.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so for the management server, like we said, we have 3 models of management server for a different type of installation. The flagship of the management server is the OC-MSCL-S. Okay, this is a professional server running a very high-end hardware, Xeon Intel processor with 8 gigabit of RAM, expandable, and so on. It can manage up to 3,000 cameras, 1,024 recorders, and this is for medium up to extra large installations. It has 512 licenses included, and it's a very powerful. If I said about, like I said before, the transfer server is already also included in all the management server. But the benefit of this server, that the hardware also allows you to, if I mentioned redundancy, if I spoke about load balancing and so on, then the hardware of it is very simple. With 4 network connections, you can see the back of it, 4 network connections for redundancy, for load balancing. It's the only one that has such a high performance, and it supports up to 256 PC client and has a full web interface, also for management, configuration, and also for viewing. Also, this is the only one that supports this feature. Supports LPR, face database management, and fisheye support as well. Okay. Now, something very important that takes me back to the former explanation. The fact that it can manage 3,000 channels doesn't mean that you don't need any other transfer server. Okay. You might need additional hardware to support it when it comes to bandwidth or network management. Okay.
Just one question, just one remark when it comes to price. And a PC server, which can more or less answer the spec 4 management servers that can hold this amount of channels and everything, you can buy locally an installer. An integrator can buy locally roughly at around $5,000 to $7,000, more or less. This is what an integrator will pay locally for a computer, a PC-based computer that can hold more or less that requirement spec. And then, of course, he needs to buy the licenses for the enterprise licenses. You have a 300 channel project, 500 channel project, whatever amount of channels you need to buy the licenses and pay for it as well. One of the key benefits of this management server, Provision-ISR dedicated one, but first of all, it comes with built-in 512 enterprise licenses. Only this alone cost to the installer roughly $10,000. 500 channels for about $25 per channel for the integrator, $20, $25, whatever you will price it in your market, he will pay $10,000 just for the licenses. In these machines, he get it as part of the price. When he pay the price, he already gets 512 channels included, and this is a key feature you need to remember when pitching the product. You will see the prices later. I already sent you the prices before of the management server, but whatever the price is, and it's more or less installer will pay for the management server, the dedicated server, around $5,000 to $6,000 as well, but he gets 512 channels, which is a big benefit for this machine. So go ahead.
Okay, so this is, like I said, medium to enterprise installations, hospitality, theme parks, banking, and so on. The next one is the medium management server, OC-MSCL-S. Okay, just small remark. Ossia CMS, MS, management server, M is medium, DT is desktop. It's a very small desktop unit. I don't know if you can, if you see the video, okay, if you can see me, but this is the unit. It's this small, okay? Very small, very compact, but very powerful. Okay, so this unit is it comes with built-in 256 channels, and it supports up to 4 PC clients and 32 mobile app clients. It does not have a web interface. I mean, it does have web interface, but only for simple management, not for full configuration like the One U. And all the other features are exactly the same. LPR, map support, decoder, recording server, everything exactly is the same. The only difference is the amount of channel and the amount of users. Of course, it also reflects on the completely different bandwidth. And of course, the hardware, you have only one network output, input-output, not 4 like the other one, and so on.
Also
and
here, I will say a few words about the price tag.
Yes.
A server like this that can hold 256 channels to decode them and everything, roughly for an installer, when he buys a PC outside, an integrator will buy a PC and install the management server on it, he will need roughly a machine of about $3,000, something like this, $3,000, $3,500. And then he needs to pay for the licenses. Again, in this case, this one supports up to 256. So let's say he has a 100 channel, 200 channel system. He needs to pay around $3,000, $3,500 for a PC computer server, and then to buy the licenses from you for Provision-ISR. And he pay roughly around $7,000 to $8,000 for the system. If you manage to see the prices of these units, we're talking about, you will sell it, I'm guessing, at around, to installers, at around $2,000, including 256 enterprise licenses built in. So there is no compare when it comes to prices, and you will see it all the way when we will talk prices today. There's no comparison, Pedro, when we talked about this project. There's no real reason to buy a PC outside and install the licenses on it than to buy a dedicated hardware, closed hardware from Provision-ISR for much less, much less. And we will talk about it more, especially in the next model.
No, I understand. I understand that. I don't know if they have any more space.
Of course. If there is no, if you cannot do it, you cannot do it. When
I don't know.
a new project, it's important to understand.
I
Also
understood.
the price point of view. Sometimes you might lose project because of price issue and because of server that the clients wants to buy outside, and we might lose the project. Keep in mind that the dedicated hardware gives you much more for so much less.
Yes, I understand that. But I have to see the contingencies of the client. I must know if the client has the space to put our softwares, or if we have to buy, or if we can offer him the whole solution, the full solution. They go there, put it there, and it's working. Okay? I have to manage. I have to see the price, the prices too.
I'll go ahead.
Okay. So the software on the proprietary service, the one that Provision provides, that's a Linux based?
Yes. It's a Linux.
So it's much more reliable than any Windows based.
Yes. And of course, it's stripped down from all the services that you don't need. Also, unlike Windows, where you cannot because there are system services. So almost 100% of the resources are dedicated only for the Ossia CMS.
And there is no way to have the software for a Linux server. If somebody wants to host, if somebody wants, because I had a client who was asking, he wants to have it on the cloud. Yeah. And he wants to, you know, either through whatever, through Google or through Amazon.
For the free installation, I mean the installation of the server, it's only Windows server based.
And that's going to stay like that?
Most probably. Okay. Okay. The last unit is the OC-MSCL-S. Okay. Again, OC-CMS medium management server client. Okay. Why the CL? I will explain in a second. This is for smaller installations. It is support up to 128 channels. Already the licenses are already built in the device. You cannot increase it or decrease it. It has a built-in 128. One client support and up to 7 mobile app support. Okay. What's the nice thing about it is that if you need additional clients, you can transform this unit. You can tell it, okay, don't start up as a management server, but start up as a client, and then this client can connect to other management server like the medium, like the extra large, or if you have your own server, this can serve as a very powerful client and can save you the buying any PC. Dedicated PC for the task. Okay, again, this saves you, it should save you money and also save you the headache of the installation or not knowing what your security personnel are doing instead of watching the Ossia CMS. Okay.
But before you go to the next page.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to get your attention here, please, because this is a game changer in the CCTV industry, and I will explain one. I'll go back one page. For those of you that have been in our industry of CCTV for many, many years, remember the switch we had from DVR cards installed on a PC-based hardware into standalone units in CCTV. This was a big change in our market. Remember, we saw a lot of CCTV distributors that were not selling computers. They were telling the installer, okay, here is a DVR card. You can go and buy a computer anywhere you want in an IT distributors. And they didn't make profit on computers. And then standalone market came into our market. All of a sudden, all of us enjoyed selling dedicated hardware for CCTV. All of us made profit on it, sell it, and increased our revenue as companies. Now, you need to understand a few things that are going on in our market. We did a survey among installers around the world. And one of the things that we learned that, by the way, not only Provision-ISR installer, but also Hikvision installer, Dahua installers, many other installers, and we found out that many of the installers stopped or stopping using computer as a remote device, meaning one of the problems that any company, any manufacturer has today is viewing from remote computer. Why? Because most company does not support Chrome anymore because of the plugs in and many other problems. Explorer is also an option, but many clients doesn't want to use Explorer. So what we found out in a survey that we did that most installers install the CMS on a computer. Even if it's a one system or just two systems. I have a client with one system at the house, one system at his office, and he wants to see it from his laptop, for example, or from his home office computer. So they install a CMS, the free one, the free version, the standard version, no licensing fee, no nothing. They just install the CMS. They tell their customer, here, this is the software. You don't need Chrome, you don't need Explorer. Use it on your computer. Now, if he has a computer, great. If they need to buy a computer, so relevantly, the spec of this computer not necessarily need to be very strong. You can buy a computer at around $900, $1,000. That's it, more than enough to support small CMS with a few sites, 3, 4, 5 sites even. Like we say here, up to 128 channels, no problem. What we did with this machine is we managed to reach up. One of the problems when we talk about occasions like this, when you need to buy a computer for $900, $1,000, you're not in the game. You're not making profit in most cases because the margin in the computer market are very low. The installer doesn't make profit. You don't make a lot of profit. If you have a distributor somewhere along the way, he doesn't make profit. Usually in this case, the installer just buy a computer in an IT shop. He makes 5%, 8% margin, and that's it. So he pays $900, he sells it for $1,000, and he charges for the installation maybe. What we did in this product, specifically in this product, we came to a product that you pay $350, and it includes enterprise licenses, 128 licenses, enterprises one. You can sell it for $900 to the installer or $700 to the installer. You make good margin, the installer can make good margin. You make revenue from the computer market without buying computers, without selling computers, with a dedicated hardware that saves tons of time for the installer on the installation site, because it doesn't need to install it on a PC, doesn't need to struggle himself with antivirus, with Microsoft, with any other program that the customer might have installed on the PC. The amount of benefits you have specifically with this device is enormous. This is a game changer in our industry. Instead of the installer buying computer in an IT computer company, he will buy dedicated hardware from you. You will make good margin, he will make good margin, and everybody's enjoying it. I hope I made myself clear with, because when we look at this specific device that can act as a small managed server or as a client, he has two operation modes. When you turn it on, Tal didn't explain it all the way, but when you turn on the machine asks you at which mode would you like it to operate, as a small management server up to 128 channels, or as a client that is working under a big management server. Also, in this case, you need to buy a computer for the project. Again, you have a unit here that price-wise, it's changing the market completely and adding you into the market of computers, and basically ending the era of computers in our CSTV market. And this is a big change. Hope I made myself clear. I'll continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so basically, when it comes to feature, when you're using this unit as a server, the EC001, the temperature management, is not available. But if you're using it as a client to a server that supports it, it will allow you to use that feature. But all the rest is exactly the same. When it comes to database, LPR, counting, whatever, everything is exactly the same like the other servers. The only differences are the client's bandwidth and the number of channels. Okay, like it says
Sorry,
here. Yes.
is this storage on the management server?
No storage.
Okay, so there's no storage there. You still need to have a storage server.
Yeah, it's a good question. None of the management server, I can say they have storage. The only one that might have some kind of solution is this one that has the capacity of 2 hard drives. But if you're using this one, it means that you have a massive amount of cameras in most cases. So 2 hard drives, it's a drop in the sea. But if you have some important cameras or some very specific channels that you need to back up, you can use this device. In most cases, we can use the NVRs, DVRs as the recording devices and playback directly from there, or to use an external storage server.
Can you use a NAS?
No. You need the service installed on it. So you can install our service and the link between them, or to use DVRs and NVRs.
Okay. I would like to ask you to move forward. We are short on time, and we have a big task ahead of us when it comes to the form.
Okay, so let's continue. Of course, you can go through all of this later on. We will share with you this presentation. You have here all the technical spec, all the information that you need to know about these devices. Here you have some more complicated layout, okay, of the system. But in general, this is where we want to be, right, Amnon? This is where you want me to skip to.
Yes.
Okay, so a short introduction. Okay, like you probably know, the Ossia CMS have an architecture. Of course, there is no one way to do things. There are a lot of ways to design the system, but since your knowledge is not enough at the moment to design, and maybe you don't fully understand the system yet, maybe yes, maybe no, we want to help you to design the system, okay? The reason for it is actually, there are 2 main reasons for it. First of all, we want to help you to avoid the situation where you design the system, you go into the installation, and only during the installation you realize that some of your components are not the right components, or in worst case, you have a component missing, and without it, the system will not stop, and now you're stuck in the middle of the installation, and you have a delay that might be crucial for the project. The other part of it is that you need to have the right hardware for the right system. Like I wrote here, you don't need a $2,000 PC to view 16 channels, but you cannot use a $1,000 PC to view 128 channels, okay? So we need to assist you to get the right hardware. And for this, we developed the form where you explain to us what is you will give us the key features of the installation or of the project. Of course, we might ask you some additional questions to get the full picture, and together with you, we will build, or we will design the system like it's supposed to be, and explain to you why you need these components. So in continuation, you will be able to explain to the customer and let him know which kind of system he needs, and of course to quote the system. Okay, so let's do some case study. Okay, a short case study. 1 second, a sip of water. Okay, so think about this project. You have a hotel complex on a huge site. This is the site. We have 3 residential buildings and 1 management building. Okay, these are the 3 residential buildings and 1 management building. We have 4 monitoring stations. Okay, we have the chief of security sitting in the management building, viewing the whole system, and then we have 3 security officers, each one viewing only the building that he sits in. And the last one, we have 3 patrolling guards with mobile apps where they can view the video or playback if needed for all the site. Okay, this is how it looks, and based on it, we received this form. Let's go through it. Okay, we have a hotel complex, like I said, total number of channels 320, CCTV brands on site. We have Provision-ISR and Axis. Something I didn't mention, the Ossia CMS is ONVIF compatible, so most of the ONVIF certified brands in the market will be fully compatible with the Ossia CMS, so it's not a problem to use any brand as long as it's ONVIF certified. For IP cameras, if we are talking about NVRs, DVRs, then we need some deeper integration. At the moment, we have full integration with, of course, Provision-ISR, Dahua, and Hikvision. So for IPC, ONVIF is okay. For DVRs and NVRs, Provision-ISR, Hikvision, and Dahua, you can use their recorders. So we have 4 Provision-ISR recorders and 2 Axis recorders. Provision-ISR channels 256, 64 Axis channels. Okay, this tells me that my only option is to use the extra large management server. Okay, we cannot use the medium or the small because there are too many channels. 4 workstations with 6 monitor per workstation. This tells me that I must have a decoder on site or on each one of the workstations. And we're going to view up to 64 channels at any given time. And simultaneous connections, we have 4 clients, meaning PC clients, and 4 mobile apps. No one is using the web client. In this case, if it was only this without the channel issue, we could also use the medium server, not only the extra large. Here, you can see the ones, and I will show you in a second. You can see the ones that are marked in yellow or in orange. These are the ones that might give us I mean, some devices does not support it. So for example, EC001, only the extra large and the medium support it. Okay, recording on the CMS, meaning that for sure we must have a recording server. We have a planned recording duration of 14 days. We are using RAID 5, and everything is on LAN, okay, which is helpful to design the media transfer. And here, this is optional, okay? It's not a must for you to fill it, but it's better to fill it because you have here the calculation of the bit rate and the total storage. So after filling it, all of these fields, the bit rate and the storage required will be filled automatically. It will be calculated by the form. What we see here is that we have 1,152 megabit per second of bandwidth, and we need a total storage of 167, let's say, terabytes, not including RAID, okay? So what we learned from it, this is how we design the system for the customer. The management server, we can use
Wait, Tal, just before that.
Yes.
As part of it, we want to explain the process in order to help you. So the best way to do it is to take this form, to fill it together with the installer, and send it to us. We will send you full instruction on how to do it. Once we get it, in most cases, if we have any open questions, we'll arrange some kind of a conference call between you, the integrator, and us to ask any other open questions. And from that question and from that form, we will basically give you a list of accessories that we think is needed for this project. This is what Tal is going to show you now. And eventually you can go with that list after you understand the architecture and why. See if there is any need to reduce anything from bitrate in order to save money or whatever is needed. And then you can actually quote the project. So let's see how from that form and after talking with the installer and asking a few questions, we came up with a list of components that is needed for this project. Go ahead, Tal.
Okay, so the management server, if you're talking about the embedded, then we must use the extra large. There is no need for additional licenses. It's a mistake because it already comes with 512 licenses. Or you need to buy your own hardware and purchase from us, from Provision, 352 licenses. Okay, that's all you will need. The media transfer server, either you'll get one media transfer server from us. The reason is that you reached 1,152 megabit per second of bandwidth, and one management server, this management server can only handle 800 megabit per second. So you need to add another media transfer server, or the customer provides a dedicated server, but you must have an additional transfer server. For clients, okay, you can use the small ones, or you can ask the customer to provide you with 4 dedicated PCs. You need 4 decoders, 1 decoder for each control room, and no problem because each management server support up to 2 monitors together with the 4 monitors of the decoder, and we get to the 6 monitors that the customer says that the project needs. Recording server, we need 2 recording servers, okay? Because one recording server, if I remember correctly, is up to 128 terabytes. In this case, we have 166 terabytes before using RAID. It means it's even more. So we need 2 recording servers, or the customer can provide dedicated servers. It's completely optional. And the joystick, because the customer says they're going to be PTZs, he can use the joystick to control the PTZs and to control also the decoder. Provision-ISR joystick can also control the decoder view by simple clicks, shortcuts to change the views of the decoders directly from the joystick. So it's very simple. Okay, so this is what we would quote for the OC-CMS. Of course, I'm leaving aside all the cameras. I'm talking about only the CMS. Okay. Now the next part, I'm not going to touch it because we are short on time, but I just wanted to show it briefly. The idea is that at the first part, maybe at the beginning, we want to be completely involved in the process of designing the Ossia Vms hardware. Okay, mostly to avoid mistakes and inconveniences caused by mistakes to you and to your customers. But eventually, we want to give you the knowledge and we want to give you the ability to fully manage your project. Of course, this is our goal. So in the next few presentations, I will just show it briefly. Like I said, the orange parts are the important ones. And just, I touched each and every one of them to tell you when it comes to our hardware, how to choose the right one, okay? So really, I touched each and every one of them, okay? I'm not going to touch it here, okay? But please go through it and learn and study, develop yourself, develop your knowledge, and learn how to use this this form. Okay, you can see here, I went through all of it, really, everything. It's for your sake. Of course, we will always be here. If you will decide that you want to use our assistance for all of your projects, it's fine by us, but I'm sure that most of you want to take control, mostly to understand and later to explain to the customer how to use this form and how to design the system. Okay, so for this you have these pages. Of course, we will share this presentation with you immediately after the webinar. Here you have, we will change it. Here you had some videos, but we will change it to the technical specs for all the hardware and the Ossia CMS leaflet. Everything is here in your reach. And that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to open your mic, ask us whatever you want. We will be available for you in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was clear. I hope it made some sense and, you know, put everything, all the pieces together in your head. And that's it. We'll see you in the next webinar. We'll wait here for questions. Thank you very much.